Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and yeah, let's talk Hero Academia chapter 183. Oh boy. So, looking back to 2 weeks ago when we ended the portion of the fight with Gentle, I was really scared, and I'm just so happy that everything worked out. I'm so happy that we got the remainder of the slice of life. I'm so happy that we get to see more character stuff. I'm happy that we get to see the pageant. Still kind of feeling like I kind of wish we got a little bit more Jiro in all this, but she had her moment last chapter, so I guess like when it comes to how much people are usually represented for an arc, like she's got good enough treatment, but it's still one of those things where I always wish for more. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The chapter continued the slice of life stuff. I'm very happy for it, and this chapter was beautiful looking. I remember last week people were telling me, okay, Chibi mentioned what might have been happening on why the chapter looked so bad, or not bad, why it was incomplete. So thank you to everyone that corrected me for that one and added that little bit of information in for us. Yeah, anyway, let's just talk more about this chapter. So it's got a few parts. We're pretty much finishing up a lot of the plot threads that were set up for the arc, like the students that were upset with Bakugo, or not upset with Bakugo, upset with the 1A kids and the 1B kids to some degree. Finishing that up, cleaning up literally the concert performance, dealing with everyone else's little stories. I mean, we started the chapter off, we had the hilarity that was the ultimate mashup of all the things that we can assume the author loves. I mean, like between, what was it? I'm looking at it again, Romeo and Juliet, we had The Prisoner of Azkaban, most likely from Harry Potter. We had Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. Actually, is that all of it? Yeah, well, still, like he took all like the major pieces of our era of just popular movies and stuff and just shoved them into one area. I thought that was hilarious. It's also interesting in the sense that I guess like these movies do make a big cultural impact in Japan too, right? Like they must be, well, I know the Japanese love American movies too, just as the same way that we as American, or not American fans, we as English speaking fans would like the media that comes out of Japan. So I guess it makes sense that he picked so many iconic Western works. It's just interesting. Anyway, that point aside, that was just a mindless point. It was just like, it's how the chapter started, and I thought it was very funny. I think Class 1B had a pretty good showing across this chapter with just like the hilarity and like little comedy moments from Monoma. Anyway, going through, I'm trying to think of where to start first. Let's just go in order of the chapter. If we start with the spot where Hound Dog was talking to Izuku and All Might about, pretty much talking to Izuku about his behavior. I kind of like this. Because I like it whenever like Hound Dog gets, I like it whenever any of the faculty gets a little bit more characterization, and in this case, Hound Dog's just showing that he cares, and he's making a really good point here, and he's talking about good results, and like his main line was like, even if the result was a good one, you were out of line, and he brings up Izuku's place in everything, and he ultimately culminates it with, if you're going to get into a fight, you need to rely on us as well. I really like the sentiments that are being like shown here. In the case of Izuku, as readers, we will celebrate it, and because well, Izuku, we could see like the timing of the event, maybe it was just a bit hard for Izuku to actually come back and tell people about it. Like if we thought about it, Izuku could have just backed away from Gentle. He could have ran back and told Hound Dog like, hey, someone's coming, and brought back. But like really, Izuku's a kid. Izuku has certain ideas when it comes to his character. Like if you look at it, Izuku's the kind of person that steps in without thinking, so that part's still part of his characterization, and it's still going strong here. And when we're talking about stepping in without thinking, we can talk back to like the initial event that got All Might interested in Izuku, the Izuku saves Bakugo event, and then we had like Izuku's behavior when it came to finding Koda, although that one kind of just ended up, it was a situation that happened out of Izuku's control. But when it comes to like rashness, yeah, definitely, this is still a problem or a flaw for Izuku's character. Now, what I really enjoy here is that we also had like All Might juxtaposed to this whole little speech that was going on, and that's interesting too, because like All Might and Izuku are both people who are at a position where they realistically could handle the majority of things by themselves. All Might especially, but this is something that goes back to like All Might's career as a hero. We know that All Might has no problem working with other people. One of the biggest events that was showing that was when All Might went to rescue Bakugo from being kidnapped. When you look at the event, All Might had stayed, or All Might was a big part of a massive cooperation between heroes and police officers. And then you look at the data book, and All Might's cooperativeness is relatively high. So the lesson that Izuku is being taught here is the lesson of, hey, we're all a team here, we're all a team of heroes. I think it's a worthwhile lesson. I think this is a lesson that should be kind of pounded into Izuku, especially with All Might watching this happen as well. Because like initially I was going to make the point that they're saying this while like having All Might there, but like All Might is pretty much the best example of a really strong person working together with other people. Even when you have like the All Might fight versus All For One, All Might, like the situation was so much bigger than All Might and All For One, and All Might didn't try and take it all on his shoulders, right? He was totally fine with giving other people parts to do. Like if you remember, like back in that event, the kids played a critical part. Mount Lady played a critical part. Most of the heroes played a critical part. They gave All Might the opportunity to go fight the main guy without having to worry about civilian casualties. You know, that kind of cooperation, you can't realistically say All Might could handle that whole situation by himself. Izuku's characterization right now, he's still a character that might try to handle everything by himself, depending on how hard or how awkward of a situation he's presented in. Thankfully though, this wasn't a situation that had to test Izuku all too much. I think the overall idea that they're doing with Hound Dog is totally fine. I think it works, and I like that it was here, and I like the sense of caring that Hound Dog's giving. I really like Hound Dog in general. I like that this character that we just initially got just barking at people now has some pretty good lines. Like, this is cool. This is really cool. There is one more note that I want to just quickly say here. Like Hound Dog mentioned, like, just because the result's good doesn't excuse how stupid it was. This is actually a line that's very prevalent with Izuku, because Izuku, like, again, going back to the rashness, he does things that, while the results are good, are usually pretty questionable, right? Like the first one was Izuku running in to save Bakugo. That was pretty much a hostage situation. Izuku got really lucky that everything went well there. Another situation where they had a good result, but it was probably like really questionable, was when Izuku and the rest went to go find Bakugo themselves. They ended up going into like the completely wrong location. That event in of itself, like, again, we see the good result of them being there, but it was still questionable, right? We have to remember, especially because we're readers, we see these events, so we get in our heads that Izuku is right for making these decisions, and then other characters are wrong for challenging Izuku on his decisions, where that isn't the reality. The plot is protecting Izuku, and we have to always be able to make that distinction, that if things went even slightly awry, this would not have turned out well for Izuku. And the reality is, the situation would not turn out well for any other person that tried and do whatever Izuku did. And we've seen the failures, like, with the side characters. We see the failure with Gentle in a way, like we see the failure of what happens if someone fails a provisional licensing exam, but that's like such an extreme case too. Anyway, it's just, there's that one thing. Just because like the things work out well does not even like does not validate the very shaky reasoning that brought them into the whatever good event they managed to pull through. Anyway, that's the small point. Moving on to the rest of the chapter. After that part, we had the parts with just Izuku being laughed at, and I actually kind of wanted to like point out the joke here that Seiro called him like my first errand for a while, and I really like that explanation. I'm so glad that all the translators put that little like translation note in there. I think that's hilarious. And then we also had Eri's little moment with Izuku, how she was just being a child, and it's cute. It's totally cute, but you know, I'm gonna sound kind of mean saying this. I don't care anymore. Eri, as far as I'm concerned, you have her character and you put the note, girl can't smile, and then you put the addendum, she can now smile. That's all I need. I don't need to get the extra cuteness. You know, like as far as I'm concerned, wasted panels. It's super cute for everyone that likes it, but I want content. I want to see more. So I know it sounds mean, but like Eri's happy now. I don't care anymore. Anyway, yeah, the Eri thing, ultimately very cute. Moving on from there, we ended up with the portion that had the kids that were upset with the Class 1A kids. And this one, here's how I feel about it. I think it's unrealistic to expect that everyone's going to be hunky-dory with how 1A is changing the society around them, or how 1A is affecting the power struggle between heroes and villains. But as a reader, just sitting down, I am fine with it, man. Like, if the author wants to sell me on like the kids are going to do the best they can to stay positive so that 1A doesn't have to worry about it. If the author wants to sell me on that message, I'm not going to complain. I don't care. I don't care if it's unrealistic. I don't care if, like, you know, we can't realistically expect people to just be okay with just one magical concert. I don't care. I am totally sold on the positivity of the message. I will throw away whatever logic for this sequence. It's not a big deal. It's just a little struggle that the kids had to deal with. I would love it if this could actually be something that was mimicked in the real world. If people could put aside, or if people could be understanding in general and be this easily moved in general, that's like an ideal that I would want to see in the world. So I'm not going to question it in an idealized fiction, right? So for that one, great. If everyone in UA can be happy and be more or less neutral to happy with Class 1A and the heroics department, cool. All good stuff. I'm down for it, man. So, you know, when we're seeing all that and we have like the kids giving that message of, hey, your feelings have been transmitted to us, we will tell everyone else about it. Like, yeah, got it. Cool. Give me that. Moving on from there, we go into the pageant. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, I got really sketched out during the pageant because I'm gonna let you in on it. You know, Trader Theories, I'm totally in it. I bought in. I'm totally into it. I have my crack theories and I have my one theory that I actually care about. But when it comes to my crack theories, I have like 3 people on that list. It's Vlad King, or Blood King, whatever he's called. It's oh man, the second one. I'm just gonna toss in a name. I'll put Monoma in there because like there's a pretty big theory revolving around him. And then Nejiri, or Nejire, don't know how to pronounce her name. Her. So anytime I see her and I see a lot of like happiness around it, I'm like, oh no, is it gonna be like a really dark moment here? I'm still expecting a dark moment. So it was a funny experience for me as I was reading these pages. But yeah, Nejiri. Why do I think she's a traitor? No real reason. It's a crack. Yeah, it's like a crack pick. I don't need a reason. I just don't trust her. Don't trust her at all. That said, it's pretty cool that Nejiri did her thing, and she had like a pretty interesting moment. Like her moment's different. Of course, Kendo also got that moment too, and the eyelash lady also got it. So overall, pretty cool stuff. Again, I'm just happy we got so much content in this and we got to see what so many people were doing. Like last chapter was so much content just centered on like maybe 5 minutes of real time, whereas this chapter is like just we're going everywhere, and I really enjoy it. And speaking of that, after this we had the montage. The most incredible thing in all that was that we got to see Shinzo. That was great. He also has abs, you can see in a little picture there. But yeah, no, it was great to see Shinzo again after a while. Yeah, nothing else really there. Oh, also there was this line from Mineta, tonight's gonna be productive, after he like finished watching a bunch of girls in a beauty pageant. I know he's done this before, like what should he use as fat material? I know that's been a line for him before, but this is still just I think the author has too much fun with him. Anyway, we end off the chapter, or not end off, we're close to the end of the chapter with Eddie finally getting her candy apple. Again, this is just a bookend for where this arc started. I don't think there's anything really substantial there, but I did love the segue that the author used to bring the story back around to Gentle, because we have Izuku waving goodbye, and then he has him looking at his hand that he used to flick air at Gentle with, and then we transition over to Gentle, and I'm happy. I'm really happy. Overall, when you sit down for this chapter, you can say it's a happy chapter, because even Gentle's getting like the opportunity for redemption here, because like they're talking to him, they're like, hey guy, like we know you're lying to cover up for this girl, and then like the police officer makes it seem like they're willing to give Gentle a slap on the wrist. And when I say that, I don't mean like he's gonna just not be punished. I mean like he technically did commit crimes, but the police are clearly seeing that he did not do the worst he could possibly have done. So maybe community service. Maybe he's just going to be community service. Maybe he's going to do stuff to help around the police department. We know that from the way the police officers are talking about it, they value La Brava's self-taught hacking skills. We know that they're valuing it, so maybe community service, they'll put them to work at the police department. Maybe Gentle's gonna be a police officer. I think that would be hilarious. Like, let's remember, back in the beginning, All Might was just telling us that, hey, you know, you might not be able to be a hero, but being a police officer is equally as rewarding. And that might still stand true here with Gentle. Like, maybe this is still something that they would want to do. Heck, maybe Gentle can somehow get a hero. No, he can't get a heroics license. Like, he needs the hero license to use like his quirk out in the public, but otherwise, yeah, him and La Brava, I think they are probably things that the police department are going to keep in their back pocket, and especially now that the Hero Society in general is looking out for more people that they can bring together. La Brava and Gentle are a great team, and that's like following the rhetoric that the current society is pushing, the society of team-ups. So I don't know, I think they're setting it up for them to be useful in the future, and I would just love to see more of Gentle. I would love to see him and Izuku team up one day for something cool. I think it would be neat, and that's my thought on that whole sequence. I love how that ended off. Now I'm really wondering what's the next chapter going to be. Are we going to continue a little bit with this? Because you know what? It would be cool if we get like a slice of life, everyone at the dorms. It's like a nighttime chapter, and like have that be the segue into the next thing. I think that'd be totally fine. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? And yeah, till next time, guys. I hope you have a good day.